Angry Bears Fan Podcast, episode 73. Not much going on with the Bears. There's obviously a little bit of moving and shaking with the Bulls. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like I said, Bears slow time. Um, what are we, a month away from the Hall of Fame game?
Yep,
Hard
1 month
knocks.
exactly.
So we just count down the days. And we'll just have to be miserable with Bulls and the White Sox and the Cubs up until then. Connor Bedard, Rookie of the Year, like we all knew. Blackhawks made a couple good signings this offseason. They're definitely trying to build around Bedard and not waste away his talent, um, like other Bulls teams or other Chicago teams like to do. Um, but we'll see. Luis Roberts is on the trade block. He might possibly get moved. We'll see. Um, but we'll just touch one point I had with for the Bears, and then we'll talk about the Bulls, I guess. Um, do you think the Bulls or the Bears are going to make another move, a substantial move before the start of the season? I'm sure they'll sign somebody, but I'm talking like I'd say Conor Williams, or a trade for like Khalil Mack or somebody like that.
I was gonna say, yeah. Well, I mean, how do you define substantial?
Yeah,
Because I don't know, I don't know if they're gonna make a substantial move. If Nate Davis is out the door, like a lot of people are kind of hinting at, the Connor Williams signing might be happening. I mean,
I
they
think
got
that would be substantial. I think
yeah, I
Conor.
mean, they got 20 something million in cap space. He is coming off a torn ACL, but he is, when healthy, one of the better centers in the league. He's also kind of like a flex position. While he does play center and he starts at center, he could also play the guard position. But if they do sign him, I think he would be the starting center. That would be substantial. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. It's been real quiet. I know we all talk about how they need, more pass rushers. Um, but there's a lot of hype coming out of camp about Austin Booker. So maybe they feel content with what they have, at least. But if you're talking
I
about
mean, even if
substantial,
he's an eight, honestly, even if Booker, let's say, is an eight sack guy, which is high, I think, for especially for a rookie, I still think the Bears need another DN just in case one of them gets injured, and just it's good to have a rotation of those guys.
yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen until Trey.
Trade
Cole seems
deadline, you
to make,
think?
yeah,
Well, I know
Cole
just
seems
like
to make
Trey Hendrickson's on the.
deadline.
They're saying he's on the trade block. Khalil Mack, I guess.
I don't think they're going to go Mac because of
Oh,
the history of what the Bears have done in terms of. Um, I mean, I guess I can't really say that because they broke
yeah,
that with Keenan Allen, bringing in somebody who's over 30.
yeah.
But I don't think they bring Khalil Mack in all honesty. Hendrickson, maybe that's an interesting name out
Yeah.
there. But what do you give up for
I
the
don't
for
know.
that?
I guess a second. I don't third. I don't. I guess I would have to see what that deal was like. That's true.
I do think that if anything substantial does happen, it probably will be the Conor Williams.
Connor or I guess Yannick is that substantial. I guess. I mean, Yannick's like a 10 sack guy, so I guess that's substantial. If he plays all 16 games and wraps up when he tackles, he should definitely get 10 sacks. Um, I mean, I hope we end up with at least him because like I said, even if I thought Austin Booker was good, I still think we need another D end, and I would just assume that Austin Booker is not going to be. Um, but we'll see. And yes, like I said, counting the days for the football to be back because basketball has
30,
been brutal.
30, was it 31 more days? Like I said,
Yes.
it's all, and it's entire month, August 1st, Hall of Fame game. Yeah, I mean, we won't really see a whole lot, you know what I'm
No.
saying? But it's football
Yeah,
nonetheless.
I mean, well, we'll get to see Booker. We'll get to see. I mean, Tyler
Yeah,
Scott
we'll
back out there getting
we'll
Rome
see
Dunze
some of
maybe.
those, some of the late round
Yeah,
rookies and stuff like that, maybe make an impact.
I think
Uh,
Rome's going to get a decent amount of time in the preseason just because he's wide receiver three right now. I mean, you can only
yeah,
keep so many of them, so he's going to have to play in the preseason if Keenan and DJ aren't going to play. Um,
yeah.
but we will see. I'm very excited. But the Bulls, a lot of stuff going on. It's only been 2 days of free agency, but the Zach LaVine deal has been exposed. It's a net negative. They're going to have to attach a first with it. Um, 30
You
minutes
might you might
before
as you might as well you might as well keep them. I,
I think they have to at this point. I get well
you have to. You have
before
to
Chris Paul was cut, it was leaked that the Bulls offered Levine for Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins. And Andrew Wiggins is also another horrible contract. Um,
And Golden State turned it down, and then
and then waived Chris Paul, which is
yep.
wow. Very, very interesting. The Bulls drafted a kid from Chicago. He went to Hinsdale, and so did the tackle. I think him and the tackle that we drafted both went to Hinsdale Central. Didn't we live
Mm-hmm.
close to that one, or do we live next to South?
South.
Okay, but Montas Buzelis, uh,
Buzelis.
6'10" wing, just what the Bulls needed. I mean, he's not much of a shooter, very athletic kid, but he's got room to grow. But the Bulls needed a wing very badly. They just got Giddy. Their DeRozan's on his way out the door. Hopefully for them, it's a sign and trade. They almost always are for whatever reason. I don't know why, um, but they almost always are. So then maybe they'll end up with, I don't know, if they say DeRozan's going to the Clippers. So I don't know, Terrence Mann. I don't know who the fuck they're gonna have. Norman Powell. Vooch might be on his way out the door.
They have to. They've got to reset the clock, almost like the youth movement that they made
Yeah.
when Jordan retired. Only because the contracts that we saw were just horrible anyway. Just giving out pretty much free money. I mean, Lonzo's still on the books for another year. Zach LaVine, DeMar, Vujicic, shit like that. They're like 70 million in the hole, and that's without DeRozan's money. I'm pretty sure. So it's absolutely crazy, and it's a start. I mean, we talked about, hey, what should the Bulls do in terms of a rebuild? And we're like, well, maybe they should take a page out of Ryan Poles' book. Maybe not so much to where it's like, hey, just draft and sign a bunch of Chicago kids. But it seems like they are kind of, looking that route. Everybody was saying that this Buzelis kid was a projected top 6 pick.
The
And
5-star
falling to
recruit
them,
could have went to Kentucky, Duke,
yeah,
North Carolina.
falling to them at 11 was, I mean, that was just, you couldn't pass up on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so they
I
went
think
ahead and
this is
took.
a very good pick for them.
I think so as well. I think you'll see a little bit of a youth movement. I mean, they've re-signed Patrick Williams to a 5-year, $90 million deal, which
which isn't bad. It's
no,
about market
and here's the
price
thing.
for a bench a
Yeah,
six
it's a
man.
very fair market, but I think if this youth movement goes forward, Patrick Williams excelled a little bit, and he played his best basketball this season when there was no, big three of Vujicic and LaVine and DeMar DeRozan on the floor. So if you're going to go with a youth movement, a 5-year, $90 million deal for a starter, he's probably going to be a starter. Really isn't that bad because there was a lot of people that were criticizing the Kobe White signing of last year, and he turned out to be, a
He
kind of
did
like a
take the
hidden
next
gem.
step. I
You know
have
what I'm
been
saying?
hard on Pat Williams, and I've been critical of Kobe White, not in a bad way. I just thought he was who he was, a six man, and I think he's, I don't know, maybe he still is a six man, but he took another step and became a viable quality NBA player, which he hasn't been in the past.
Well,
Playing,
when you have three ball stoppers on
I
offense,
know, but he played. He was on the team before all those guys even joined.
yeah, well, no, maybe not all those guys. Not
Not
Kobe
Zach
White.
Levine.
Yeah, Zach LaVine, and I think he came. I think they drafted him like a year before DeRozan came. So
No,
like,
it was a couple years before
no,
DeRozan.
he's only been in the league 4 years. DeRozan's been on the
Been on
team
the
for 3
Bulls
years.
two, I think two, right? DeRozan's been on the team for two.
I thought it was 3. But I mean,
We'll
either
see.
way, you had a bunch of just ball stoppers in general.
Yeah.
When Levine
I
touches the
mean,
ball,
and sometimes it just takes some time too. Like everybody just isn't like good as a rookie. But either way, he took another step, and I'm fine with them roll, especially with Giddy. I think he pairs well with Giddy because Giddy's a big non-shooting point guard, and Kobe's really a non-distributing, scoring, actual small guard. So they'll pair well together.
yeah, I think
Giddy
you
can
have
still
Giddy at the
distribute.
1,
Yeah.
Kobe at the
Yeah,
2.
it's just it's new NBA. It's positionless basketball
Yeah,
anyway. It'll be Giddy, Kobe, Pat Will. You know what I mean? It depends who we end up with. They signed Jalen Smith from the Pacers. I think that's a
from the
quality
Pacers.
pick.
I was gonna bring that up. Yep.
Much
And
better defender.
that's another decent, like, when you look at the contract wise
Oh
in
yeah,
terms of AAV, that's a pretty, what was it, a 3-year, like, $24 million deal or
yeah,
something like
very
that.
good deal for them.
It was not a bad deal at all.
Um, yeah, not a bad deal for them at all. And I think if they move off of Vooch, I think if you're playing him more minutes, his numbers will just go up. I think Jalen Smith's a new age, like he can play defense and he can score a little bit. I think it's time to move on from, like you said, youth movement. Vooch is okay. DeMar's okay, but these guys are third options. on winning teams, maybe a second option. It's like, but they're not doing anything for the Bulls, and the Bulls fans come and show out anyway. You might as well be playing with young guys. And like you were to get back to what you're saying before, we might just be stuck with Zach LaVine. And pray he takes another step. I mean,
Well, that's what you got to do. You got to hope that he increases his value during the first
yeah.
half of the season next year. You
Or
have to.
you just like him, like I don't, because that. But you got to get Demar out of there. You got to get Vooch out of there, I think, too. And maybe Levine would thrive more in a run and gun, new NBA age where we're shooting quick. DeMar and Vooch got to play a certain way. DeMar's got game, but you got to slow it down. They do a little action. You got to get him the ball one on one in his spot. Vooch is kind of similar. But with Kobe, Giddy, you know what I mean? Let's say Zach LaVine, Pat Will, the new guy, like we could run a little bit more. DeRozan isn't an up and down type of player. And I think Levine might be a little bit better in that instead of standing around. I think he gets complacent standing around watching DeRozan dribble. I think Giddy, although he's a ball handler, he'll give it up. You know what I mean? He's just looking to make the quick, good pass. And Kobe's looking to score quick. I think Kobe'd be more comfortable standing around waiting to shoot. And I think they're going to have to ride it out with Levine. I don't
Yeah,
see he's
if
going to
you
give it.
have to attach a first round pick to Zach LaVine to get him out of town, there's
I mean, it depends who it is. If it's just for like I don't even like even if the Bulls would have did the Chris Paul Wiggins deal, it's like they're probably doing the same thing the Warriors did, cut Chris Paul, and then I guess let Wiggins play out a year or two while they figure out what their next move is. I thought that would have been a decent deal for them just because Wiggins, even at his worst, he's a plus defender. He's not elite, but he's above average. He's a veteran. He'll probably score 16, get 7 rebounds, and like you can rely on his mediocrity. Like
didn't Chris Paul sign with the
the
did he
Spurs.
sign with the Mavericks?
Spurs.
The Spurs. Okay.
Yes. With Wemby,
So he
that'll
went.
be interesting.
Klay Thompson went to
Klay
the Mavericks.
Thompson's yes, Klay Thompson to the Mavs. I was shocked. I thought he was gonna go to the Lakers. I really, really did. His dad played there. Honestly, I'm very shocked he didn't. I'm kind of shocked the Warriors didn't pay him, but I was reading that they've been over the salary cap and paying that fine for like 10 years now. Like, and they're like in the max over, and I think their owner said it. Now we're just like they're probably in the Jerry Reinsdorf mindset where they're like, we're costing ourselves fucking $80 million in fines, and we're not going to win the fucking championship. So we might as well. We're going to sell out every game as long as Steph's wearing his jersey. So we might as well get back under the cap and you know what I mean, save ourselves all that fine money. But I thought that was the best partner for the Bulls was somehow the Warriors get enamored with Levine and maybe they somehow dump him. I don't. Maybe New Orleans and you get Brandon Ingram. He's on the move. But besides that, it's really
Well, weren't
nowhere.
the Lakers trying to weren't the Lakers trying to move D'Angelo Russell too?
Yeah, but I don't. D'Angelo Russell makes a lot less than Levine. They would have to put Austin Reeves in that deal, and I don't think they want to do that. I don't think financially they would be able to make any other like Levine gets the max, right? Like so like was
Yeah.
he getting 50, 48 or something like that? Like D'Angelo Russell only makes like 19 or 18. He opted in for like 18. So I'm guessing it would have to be Reeves. And I don't know if like do you think would you rather have D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves or Zach LaVine? Like I guess I'm taking D'Angelo Russell and Reeves.
Well,
Like that
really,
seems
who you got
easy.
to ask is LeBron because
Yeah.
LeBron runs that
And
team.
I think he likes both. I would think anybody would rather have. I mean, I honestly I'd rather just have Reeves than Levine. Based on the last 2 years, I would much rather have Reeves, and maybe they were just holding Levine out because they didn't want him to get hurt to hurt his trade value. But he didn't even play last year really, so um, they are looking to dump Lonzo and Levine, but I don't know. They might be able to find somebody with Lonzo if they're really just going to buy him out mostly. I don't know, but Levine, I just don't see it happening. I
Well,
don't know.
Lonzo's an expiring contract after next year anyway. He's got 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah,
All this youth movement is going to do is really just set back a franchise a couple of years because realistically, with the salary dump of trying to get rid of Zach LaVine, trying to get rid of Vujicic, everything else like that, you're realistically looking at maybe like a 20-win team next year. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you're kind of just you're shooting for like a top 5 pick at that point.
I don't
Um,
think the Bulls will be that bad. They don't know how to do that.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, we're gonna see how good of a coach, you know, he really is, and we're gonna see how the front office handles a little bit of pressure. You know, I know fans have been getting, you know, kind of pressured, and they've been kind of tuning it out, but it seems like now they're like, okay, we're starting to feel the heat a little bit because realistically, they've been just complacent and mediocre for the last several years. That there's nothing. I mean, what for a play-in tournament? I mean, we pretty much DeAndre Jordan went to Philly for nothing. They wanted to give us, you know, multiple second round picks at the trade deadline, and we turned them down.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's most
Like
upset about.
it's
Like I said, with the Giddy deal, I think even without trading at deadline, I think they won out. I think even if they would have got two first, even in the current draft, I think Giddy's better than any two guys you would have got in the draft. But the Drummond thing doesn't make any sense. Like, why did you not get he's your backup center? Like, if anybody's offering you anything for him, you trade him. Like, their season's over, and it's like Jerry's like, fingers crossed we get into the first round of the playoffs and I get that extra two home games. Like, and it's like, I don't know. But I do like in the direction they're headed now. It seems like they took heat of it. And I don't think they'll be that bad, top five, because I think Giddy's experience, Kobe, I think they're going to end up with either DeMar or Vooch, so they'll have a vet, and they're going to do what they did last year and like either make the play in or barely miss it. And I think the young guys spread it out, play more and up and down is the new wave. The Pacers just did it, although Halliburton's a lot better. I don't know. I wouldn't say. I mean, he had a lot better season last year than a lot of the guys on the team. The Pacers relatively don't have a lot of good players, like super good. They got Siakam at the All Star break, but they are already a playoff team before that. And they played pretty well with a bunch of just some guys. Um, we'll see. I'm I'm really interested to see Giddy play. I think he's got high upside. He's a new age, big body point, and I don't think he's such a bad shooter. You know what I mean? It's kind of overstated on how bad of a shooter he is, but I don't think he's that bad.
well, you also got to develop. You know what I'm saying? It's all. It's one of those things where you got to get the experience, and he
Yeah, I
wasn't
mean, it
getting it
took
last year.
SGA
But
what 5 years. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
SGA's been he stepped up big time. You know what I'm saying? And you know he's you know like you said he's the new way. He's like a point forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's a tall, lengthy. You know, he doesn't
smart
have the best
basketball
ball
player.
skills. He doesn't have the best ball skills, ball handling skills, I should say. But realistically, I mean, you can make a low light reel for anybody in the league. So you know, all these low lights about you know him turning the ball over and this, that, and the other, and kind of looking like a goofy when he's dribbling up the court. You could do that with anybody, but
Yeah,
you know, the experience comes from playing. I mean, Kobe White saw some increased playing time, and he stepped up. We're hoping for the same thing with Patrick Williams next year. We're hoping for the same thing with Josh Giddey. And even if these guys somewhat take that next step, even if it's a small step, you're still looking at potential growth with a young core of players that you know you can actually do something with. This isn't you know a 36-year-old DeMar, 33-year-old Vooch. You know these are guys in their mid to low 20s, and you know your only piece that you got to get rid of is Vooch. And you know if you keep Zach LaVine, um, like you said, he's an athlete who you're hoping, you know, can play that role of, okay, I'm going to run down the floor. I'm going to dunk it. Let's get some alley oops in this motherfucker. Let me spot up this
quick
3 point.
shots. Yeah, like you know what I mean.
You
Just
know what I'm
that, like
saying?
I think yeah, like I said, Demar and them slow it down to where like it's just you get in this funk where like every shot counts.
Yeah, you're
I
playing a
like
half court offense.
like I said, the Pacers played with no fear and they just run up and down the court, shoot a bunch of shots very quickly. And sometimes it's kind of overwhelming. And if you're feeling it that night, you'll fucking run through people. And I think Levine's got that range. I think he has that ability. I just think sitting around watching DeMar cook, you know what I mean, wasn't good for him. He needs to get the ball. I think they were thriving when Lonzo was there because he's a real point guard who understood that, like, I got to keep everybody interested. I got to make sure everybody getting the ball. And DeMar's not thinking that. Kobe White's not thinking that. Vooch isn't thinking that. And then you have nobody out there, any kind of traditional point guard skills, catering and making sure everybody's staying invested in the game. And I think Levine he hasn't grown up to the point where he can just sit there, watch somebody else cook and turn it on when it's his turn. I think it's kind of got to be his ball. That's when he was the best from the Bulls, when it was his ball and he got to shoot it 30 times. And there's a lot of shots out there for everybody, and he could shoot it 30 times and everybody still get their shots. But when DeMar's in the game, slowing it down, you got to run all these actions. Nobody's taking 30. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to get. There's so many less shots in the game, and it'll be fun. Like I said, I'm excited for the Giddy thing. I don't know what everybody's hard on with Caruso was. Um, he was as mid as you could be. He had a nice couple all NBA defensive teams, but like you need like 4 or 5 guys for that to matter. Like having one really good perimeter defender really is not helping you win any games as
And
the
we really
Bulls.
haven't seen a team like that since what, Detroit? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? With Ben
Like,
Wallace.
or
I mean,
like the Celtics are a good example. Like they're, you know what I mean, 4 strong on defenders. Like, yeah, it looks great when you got 4 of them, but it's like it doesn't like Caruso and Caruso's averaging like, you know what I mean, in his career 7 points a game. You know what I mean, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Like, oh, but like I said, still slow couple weeks, but we're trying to stay committed. Keep you updated each week by week. Hopefully next week, maybe LaVine will be gone tomorrow. Bulls will finally be done. I mean, the summer league games are like 2 weeks away. I'll be interested to watch the kid play. Like I said, from Chicago. He lived here almost his whole life. He left, I think it said his junior year, but it was because of COVID. He moved to like New Jersey so he could play because Illinois sports got canceled. JJ McCarthy did something similar. He
yeah.
went to Florida to play. But like you said, a top 5 projected pick. Um, the Bulls got him at what, 11?
Number 11. And
11.
you cannot pass up on that. If they would
Yes.
have passed up on it, I
Hometown
was
kid, like I said, big, long wing potential to grow. So kudos to the Bulls for making at least a couple good moves this offseason. Like I said, I like the Jalen
so
Smith
far.
trade. If they can somehow Houdini get Zach LaVine off and get somebody of quality who's 27 or younger with a little bit of potential in return, they might be able to do something. But all right, like I said, like, follow, subscribe. We'll talk to you guys next week, hopefully with a little more exciting news. And
Yeah, hopefully we have a big Bears signing or a trade or something. Because I mean, training camp's coming up.
I think right before training camp too, I want to do Would You Rather with Caleb Williams. That's one of our better videos that we've done and episodes we did with the Would You Rather with Justin Fields. It only lasted a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
how'd that
even
turn
if,
out for you?
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't know how that was gonna. I guess we'll have my answer for Russell Wilson or Justin Fields at least.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll do the Caleb Williams version here soon. But adios. I'll talk to you soon, buddy, and
All
we'll
right,
see you
I'll
guys
see ya.
next week.